portfolio to reduce drag and improve the appearance of the aircraft in flight. A new cowling was used, introducing shock mounts that transmitted lower noise levels to the cockpit and reduced cowl cracking. The electric stall warning horn was replaced by a pneumatic one. The 1967 Model 172H sold for $10,950 while the Skyhawk version was $12,750. 20. A total of 8 39172Hs were built. 11. 172i. The 1968 built Cessna 172 introduced the Lycoming 0320E2 engine of 150 HP, 112 kilowatts. The 1968 model marked the beginning of the Lycoming-powered 172S. The I model was introduced with a Lycoming 0320E2 engine of 150 HP, 112 kilowatts, an increase of 5 HP, 3.7 kilowatts, over the Continental power plant. The increased power resulted in an increase in optimal cruise from 130 miles per hour, 209 kilometers per hour, TARS to 131 miles per hour, 211 kilometers per hour, TARS, true airspeed. There was no change in sea level rate of climb at 645 feet, 197 m per minute. The 172i also introduced the first standard T instrument arrangement. The 172i saw an increase in production over the H model, with 1,206 built. 11. 172J for 1968. Cessna planned to replace the 172 with a newly designed aircraft called the 172J, featuring the same general configuration but with a more sloping windshield, a strutless cantilever wing, a more stylish interior, and various other improvements. However, the popularity of the previous 172 with Cessna dealers and flight schools prompted the cancellation of the replacement plan, and the 172J was instead introduced as the 177 and sold alongside the 172. The 172J designation was never used for a production aircraft. 172K 1969 model year Cessna 172K. Built in 1968, the next model year was the 1969K model. The 1969 172 had a redesigned tail fin cap and reshaped rear windows. Optional long-range 52 US gal, 197L, wing fuel tanks were offered. The rear windows were slightly enlarged by 16 square inches, 103 square centimeters. The 1969 model sold for $12,500 for the 172 and $13,995 for the Skyhawk, with 1,170 made. 11. The 1970 model was still called the 172K, but sported fiberglass downward-shaped, conical wing tips. Fully articulated seats were offered as well. Production in 1970 was 759 units. 11. 172L 1971 Cessna 172L at Kemble Airfield, England, 2003. The 172L, sold during 1971 and 1972, replaced the main landing gear legs, which were originally flat spring steel, with tapered tubular steel gear legs. The new gear had a width that was increased by 12 in 30 centimeters. 11. The new tubular gear was lighter but required aerodynamic fairings to maintain the same speed and climb performance as experienced with the flat steel design. The L also had a plastic fairing between the dorsal fin and vertical fin to introduce a greater family resemblance to the 182's vertical fin. The 1971 model sold for $13,425 in the 172 version and $14,995 in the Skyhawk version. 827 172 LS were sold in 1971 and 984 in 1972. 11. 172M 1975 Cessna 172M. The 172M of 1973-76 gained a drooped wing leading edge for improved low-speed handling. This was marketed as the camber lift wing. The 1974 172M was also the first to introduce the optional 2 package, which offered higher standard equipment, including a second nav /com radio, an ADF and transponder. The baggage compartment was increased in size, and nose-mounted dual landing lights were available as an option. 11. The 1975 Model 172M sold for US $16,055 for the 172, US $17,890 for the Skyhawk, and US $20,335 for the Skyhawk 2. In 1976, Cessna stopped marketing the aircraft as the 172 and began exclusively using the Skyhawk designation. This model year also saw a redesigned instrument panel to hold more avionics. Among other changes, the fuel and other small gauges were relocated to the left side for improved pilot readability compared with the earlier 172 panel designs. Total production of M models was 7,306 over the 4 years it was manufactured. 11. 172N 1979 Cessna 172N Skyhawk. In 2019 the Skyhawk N, or Skyhawk /100 as Cessna termed it, was introduced for the 1977 model year. The 100 designation indicated that it was powered by a Lycoming 0320H2AD, 160 horsepower, 119 kilowatts. Engine designed to run on 100-octane fuel, whereas all previous engines used 80/87 fuel. But this engine proved troublesome. 21, and it was replaced by the similarly rated 0320D2J to create the 1981 172P. The 1977N Model 172 also introduced rudder trim as an option and standard pre-selectable flaps. The price was US $22,300 with the Skyhawk /102 selling for US $29,950. 11. The 1978 model brought a 28-volt electrical system to replace the previous 14-volt system. Air conditioning was an option. 11. The 1979 Model N increased the flap extension speed to 110 knots. 204 km per hour. 11. The N remained in production until 1980 when the 172P or Skyhawk P was introduced. 11. 1720 There was no Oscar Model 172. To avoid confusion with the number 0. 11. 172P Cessna 172P. The 172P, or Skyhawk P, was introduced in 1981 to solve the reliability problems of the N engine by replacing it with the Lycoming 0320D2J. The P model also saw the maximum flap deflection decreased from 40 degrees to 30 to allow a gross weight increase from 2,300 pound, 1,043 kilograms, to 2,400 pound, 1,089 kilograms. A wet wing was optional, with a capacity of 62 US gallons of fuel. 11. The price of a new Skyhawk P was US $33,950. With the Skyhawk P2 costing US $37,810 and the nav /pack equipped Skyhawk PII selling for US $42,460. 11. In 1982, the P saw the landing lights moved from the nose to the wing to increase bulb life. The 1983 model added some minor soundproofing improvements and thicker windows. 11. A second door latch pin was introduced in 1984. 17. Production of the P ended in 1986. and no more 172s were built for 11 years as legal liability rulings in the US had pushed Cessna's insurance costs too high, resulting in dramatically increasing prices for new aircraft. There were only 195 172s built in 1984, a rate of fewer than 4 per week. 11. 172Q Cutlass. The 172Q was introduced in 1983 and given the name Cutlass to create an affiliation with the 172RG, although it was actually a 172P with a Lycoming 0360, a 4N engine of 180 horsepower, 134 kilowatts. The aircraft had a gross weight of 2,550 pounds, 1,157 kilograms, and an optimal cruise speed of 122 knots. 226 kilometers per hour. Compared to the 172PS cruise speed of 120 knots, 222 kilometers per hour, on 20 HP, 15 kilowatts, less. It had a useful load. It was about 100 pound, 45 kilograms, more than the Skyhawk P, and a rate of climb that was actually 20 feet, 6 m per minute lower, due to the higher gross weight. Production ended after only 3 years when all 172 production stopped. 11. 172R. The Skyhawk R was introduced in 1996 and is powered by a derated Lycoming IO360L2, producing a maximum of 160 horsepower, 120 kilowatts, at just 2,400 RPM. This is the first Cessna 172 to have a factory-fitted fuel-injected engine. The 172RS maximum takeoff weight is 2,450 pound, 1,111 kilograms. This model year introduced many improvements, including a new interior with soundproofing, an all-new multi-level ventilation system, a standard 4-point intercom, contoured, energy-absorbing, 26G front seats with vertical and reclining adjustments and inertia reel harnesses. 172S Cessna 172S Skyhawk. The Cessna 172S was introduced in 1998 and is powered by a Lycoming IO360L2, producing 180 horsepower, 134 kilowatts. The maximum engine RPM was increased from 2,400 RPM to 2,700 RPM, resulting in a 20 HP, 15 kilowatts, increase over the R model. As a result, the maximum takeoff weight was increased to 2,550 pound, 1,157 kilograms. This model is marketed under the name Skyhawk SP, although the type certification data sheet specifies it is a 172S. 22. 23. The 172S is built primarily for the private owner-operator and is, in its later years, offered with the Garmin G1000 avionics packaging and leather seats as standard equipment. 24. As of 2009, only the S model is in production. 25. Cessna 172RG Cutlass. Cessna 172RG Cutlass. Cessna introduced a retractable landing gear version of the 172 in 1980 and named it the Cutlass 172RG. The Cutlass featured a variable pitch, constant speed propeller and a more powerful Lycoming 0360 F1A6 engine of 180 horsepower, 130 kilowatts. The 172RG sold for about $19,000 more than the standard 172 of the same year and produced an optimal cruise speed of 140 knots, 260 kilometers per hour, compared to 122 knots, 226 kilometers per hour, for the contemporary 160 horsepower, 120 kilowatts, version. 11. The 172RG did not find wide acceptance in the personal aircraft market because of higher initial and operating costs accompanied by mediocre cruising speed. but was adopted by many flight schools since it met the specific requirements for complex aircraft. Experience necessary to obtain a commercial pilot certificate, the role for which it was intended, at relatively low cost. Between 1980 and 1984 1,177 RGs were built, with a small number following before production ceased in 1985. While numbered and marketed as a 172, the 172RG was actually certified on the Cessna 175 Type Certificate. 18 special versions. Reams FR-172 and Cessna R-172K Hawk XP 1977 Cessna R-172K Hawk XP 1977 Model R-172K Hawk XP on Whiplin Amphibious Floats. The FR-172 Reams rocket was produced by Reams Aviation in France from the late 1960s to the mid-1970s. It was powered by a Rolls-Royce built, fuel-injected, Continental IO360H, B, 210 HP, 160 kilowatts, engine with a constant speed propeller. 26 variants included the FR-172E until FR-172J. The Reams rocket led to Cessna producing the R-172K Hawk XP, a model available from 1977 to 1981 from both Wichita and Reams. This configuration featured a fuel-injected Continental IO360K, later IO360KB, derated to 195 HP, 145 kilowatts, with a two-blade constant-speed propeller. The Hawk XP was capable of a 131 knot, 243 kilometers per hour, cruise speed. Owners claimed that the increased performance of the XP didn't compensate for its increased purchase price and the higher operating costs associated with the larger engine. The aircraft was well accepted for use on floats, however, as the standard 172 is not a strong float plane, even with only 2 people on board, while FXP's extra power improves water takeoff performance dramatically. 11. While numbered and marketed as 172S, the R-172J and R-172K models are actually certified on the Cessna 175 Type Certificate. 18. Turbo Skyhawk JT, a model introduced in July 2014 for 2015 customer deliveries, powered by a 155 HP, 116 kilowatts, Continental CD 155 diesel engine installed by the factory under a supplemental type certificate. Initial retail price in 2014 was $435,000. 27. The model has a top speed of 131 km, 243 km per hour, and burns 3 US gallons, 11 L, 2.5 imp gal, per hour less fuel than the standard 172. 28. As a result, the model has an 885 mi, 1,639 kilometers, range, an increase of more than 38% over the standard 172. 29. This model is a development of the proposed and then cancelled Skyhawk TD. 30. Cessna has indicated that the JTA will be made available in 2016. 31. In reviewing this new model, Paul Bertorelli of AveWeb said, "I'm sure Cessna will find some sales for the Skyhawk JTA, but at $420,000, it's hard to see how it will ignite much market expansion just because it's a Cessna. It gives away $170,000 to the near-new Redbird Red Orc conversion, which is a lot of change to pay merely for the smell of a new airplane. Diesel engines cost more than twice as much to manufacture as gasoline engines do, and although their fuel efficiency gains back some of that investment, if the complete aircraft package is too pricey, the debt service will eat up any savings, making a new aircraft not just unattractive, but unaffordable." I haven't run the numbers on the JTA yet, but I can tell from previous analysis that there are definite limits. 30. The model was certified by both the EASA and the FAA in June 2007.